Hi everybody. I have received requests from several individuals, thank you by the way, to address years-long caregiving situations involving spouse-to-spouse care, adult children caring for aging parents, and parents caring for children who are disabled but who are growing up. So a parent who may be 70 having an adult child who is disabled who is 50 years old living in their house. This video is going to address the topic of grieving for the future, which was a request. It can be very helpful for caregivers and persons or patients with a health diagnosis that is expected to get worse, and you know that one day you will not be able to care for yourself, or if you're the caregiver, one day the care needs of this person will increase and increase and increase. So the question we're going to answer today is, how will you manage through this, and how will you plan ahead? Grieving for the future is the idea of grieving for a loss before it actually happens. It's the idea that there is this event out there on the horizon that you know is going to happen, and there may be no time frame. There's no date that you can put on a calendar to say, wow, thank God this will be over by this date. So, in the midst of all of this uncertainty, what happens is that people can struggle every day with mental distractions and worried, and you're thinking about this thing that's out there and you're not sure what you can do about it, and life just becomes very, very difficult. So for this video, Grieving for the Future, we're going to relate it to the expected loss of a loved one because of a terminal illness or a long, slow decline that can happen over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years from conditions like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, heart disease, strokes, kidney failure, disabilities that people are born with, and other chronic diseases that can last for years and be not very affecting at first, but over time they continue to get worse and worse and cause more problems for caregivers and for the person, the patient, who has the medical condition. In this case, Grieving for the Future, we know that death is inevitable. It's going to happen, you're just not sure when. You may be concerned for your dying loved one. And if you are the individual who has this terminal diagnosis, you may have a long list of concerns and worries. So what things can you do now to manage your emotional life? How do you prepare for end of life? And if you are that caregiver, what does it look like? What does life look like without your loved one? I will share insights and tips to address grieving for the future in two parts. First is, how do you cope and survive all of these worrisome feelings and distracted thoughts about the next thing that's going to happen? That some people have said, oh my gosh, I'm worried. What happens if I go into my loved one's bedroom tomorrow morning and wake up and find out that they've passed on? They're not going to wake up. That's a valid worry. Second, we're going to talk about how to manage through the more practical steps of navigating health declines and end-of-life care. I realize that these are very difficult subjects, but they're necessary subjects. We are all one day going to have to confront these issues. There's no way around it. There is no way out of it. So my hope is that in this video and other videos on my YouTube channel, you find tips and information that give you practical next steps and peace of mind and emotional support while you are making plans for yourself or someone else. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I am a caregiver. I am an expert. I'm an advocate, and I'm a speaker of more than 25 years. I ask you to please click below to like this video, follow my channel, and please comment, even if it's only to say, hey, thanks for this video. Your participation helps other people looking for similar information find this channel. You can also go over to my website. It's PamelaDWilson.com, where you'll find 3 online courses about caring for aging parents, power of attorney, guardianship. My caregiving library with articles is there, my book, The Caregiving Trap, a link to my private Facebook online caregiving group is there, and my podcast, The Caring Generation. So let's talk about emotions. We all have them. Managing through future grief is difficult because when we're in this position, we're so focused on the future that sometimes we forget to live about the present and we forget about the people in our life. If you're the caregiver caring for, let's say, an aging parent, it's easy to forget about and neglect your spouse, your children. Maybe you give up your job. Maybe you stop seeing your friends because you're so focused on this one person that you care for. And you're so worried that their life is going to end that you just block out everything else. That is not good for you. It's not good for your relationships. It's not good for your life. It's not good for you personally. But it happens. So this focus on the future really can happen in any stage of life. How many times do we say, you know what, I'll do this when that happens? Or when this happens, I'm just waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for some gift to drop down from the heavens into my lap. When this happens, then I can do X and I can do Y and I can do Z. The problem then is that we are putting our lives on hold. We're putting our lives on pause, waiting for some event that may happen tomorrow, but it may not happen for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Do you really want to put your life on hold? Most people tell me no. So what happens is, again, people focus on the future while overlooking what you can do today. Because your mind does what it wants to do, right? It thinks of tomorrow and the next day and the next week and the next month, and it's just waiting for something to happen. So instead of living a proactive life, caregivers and people who have health issues, patients, can live a reactive life. You wait for something to come at you, and then you figure out how to deal with it. The problem there is constant worry, constant mental confusion, constant stress, constant reacting to like, what am I going to do the next thing? It steals the joy and the control and the strength that you have to change your days, to make them positive days. Again, people who need care, patients, can do the same thing. A lot of patients are thinking, well, I can't plan. I don't know if I'm going to be around in a week or 2 weeks or a month or a year. So you don't do anything. You procrastinate, right? You do not live for today, for the now. So in any part of life, if you're worrying, you're losing time. You might be procrastinating. You might be losing opportunities that are coming to you, and you're so focused on something else that you just miss them. You put these blinders on. Today, now, is the time, is the day that you have to complete a goal or make something wonderful happen in your life. So ask yourself at the end of every day, what productive, positive, amazing thing do I have to celebrate? What did I accomplish today? And what am I going to accomplish tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to be an amazing day. It's all about mindset. So while putting off until tomorrow can be a reality of caregivers and persons with terminal illness, again, this type of thinking doesn't help you cope or manage through the challenges of what's called future grief or anticipatory grief, and it doesn't help you prepare. It doesn't help you make your life easier. Instead, by not thinking and planning, because you're just worried about this thing, right? So you don't want to do anything here. You end up having more problems than you thought. So here's the thing. If being unhappy, distracted, worrisome is not the daily experience that you want to have, then you have to put effort in to change this. Nothing comes our way without thought, without intention, without planning, now problems will certainly show up, but the good that we want in life, we have to kind of work on that a little bit. So similar to any skill that you want to have in life or acquire, let's just use an example. Let's say that you want to improve your conversational skills. And so to do this, you may need a wider vocabulary. How do you grow the number of words that you understand and speak? Well, reading. Pick up a book. Reading is one of the best ways to grow a vocabulary because as you read, right, you're reading, and as you come across words and you don't understand them, you look them up in a dictionary. And then you start to use these words in sentences. Similarly, if you want to improve your use of computer programs, you can take an in-person or an online course. Maybe you want to be able to use Microsoft Word, or maybe you want to design artwork. And so you're thinking, wow, I'd like to use Canva or Adobe InDesign. Well, you take a class, you practice, right? So improving the mind, changing the focus from distractions and worry and dread about the future, it takes work. It just doesn't happen. This is not something that just happens automatically because one day you wake up and you say, you know what? I'm going to be a more positive and a thoughtful person from here on. Now, the intention is an amazing start, okay? But intentions have to be supported by consistent daily effort. And sometimes we take a step forward and we take 2 steps back. But if you keep taking a step forward, you're going to get there. So, one of the first recommendations to manage future worry and eliminate distracted thinking is to find a way to be present in every moment, right here, right now, every day. So, except for time that you set aside for planning, right, because you're trying to plan for the future, you want to set the worry aside. So, what I do for myself that you can do is I create a morning and an evening routine that brings information and inspiration and positivity into my life. It could be taking a quick walk in the morning to watch the sunrise, sitting outside on a porch, having a cup of coffee. Some people pray, meditate, whatever it is that brings you joy, whatever it is that makes you happy, right? You have to have this feeling of happiness and contentment to be able to bring more of it into your life, okay? We can't have things that we do not possess, and that sounds crazy, but you have to love yourself to find people to love and have people to love you. You have to be kind if you want people to be kind to you, right? Does it make sense? So create this activity, whatever it is for you. Do it first thing in the morning and do it right before you go to bed at night, just like I do. Sometimes even if you get off track during the day, do it in the middle of the day. This is what it takes to maintain positivity and most of all, to reset your mind and your thoughts to be positive. If you're in this worrisome spiral that is just pulling you down and down and down. Another step that you can take if you're worried, educate yourself about what to expect, what can happen today and what can happen in the future. To do this, have conversations with the doctor, the doctor's office, a care manager at your health insurance company, the staff at a hospice company, if you have engaged hospice care, and we'll talk more about what that is in a minute. Join with other caregivers or other patients in in-person or online support groups. You can find these on disease-specific websites. So I have one. It's called the Caregiving Trap. It's on Facebook. You can join. But the Alzheimer's disease has support groups. The Cancer Society has support groups. MS, Parkinson's, every disease out there, more than likely, with a corporate or organizational website, has support groups for patients and for caregivers. So look for them and join up. Then understand what you can do as a caregiver or as a patient to make life easier, more comfortable, and stop doing things that are not going to improve the situation, right? Worry. And while you want to be hopeful through all this, because hope is an amazing thing that carries us forward, faith is an amazing thing that carries us forward, you also want to seek this information so that you can avoid surprises, unpleasant surprises. So here's the important thing to know. Everybody's different. Everybody wants different information. So with regard to education and information, there's a difference. Some people only want to know what's going to happen today in the immediate future. They don't want to think about 2 weeks from now or a month from now or 2 months from now, right? Other people are like, I want to know everything. And honestly, this is me. I want to know everything. You tell me what's going to happen today. I want to know what's possible in the future, what might happen, what might not happen, because I don't want to be surprised by anything, okay? That's just me. You may be like me, or you may be like the people who are like, you know what, just tell me what's going to happen today. I don't need to know about tomorrow. So it's important to understand the difference in information seeking styles and preferences between caregivers and the patient or the person with this terminal illness, and allow each other to have these different styles about how much you want to know and how much education that you want. Be open to discussing your differences and what you know, and just manage through the best that you can. So let's add complexity. Let's add difficulty. The more people involved, the more difficult and challenging it can be. So in addition to dealing with this caregiver, care receiver, patient, caree relationship, there are family members and there are friends. Now, you may choose to tell these people about the terminal illness, about the expected death. You may choose to involve them, or you may not choose to tell them or involve them. There's no one right way to do this. Everybody has their reasons for what they do. Some dying individuals do not want to be a burden to other people, so they don't want to tell anybody. Others want family and friends to be involved as much as possible because that is their preference. So in your family, you can decide how much information that you want to share or don't share. But here's the thing, if you are the caregiver, honor the wishes of the care receiver and the patient, even if you disagree. It's their life that's ending. Now, I know you're losing them, right? And you may need support, so you can get that from support groups and other people. But their life is ending. So do your best to be kind and considerate and empathetic, even if you don't agree with the fact that they may not want a funeral or a burial service. They may want family to know, but they may not want friends to know. So talk about these preferences in the conversations that you have. Now, if you have children and you're the parent with health issues, be as transparent as you can at the point that you need to about the realities of the situation so that your children can prepare emotionally for the loss. Now, I will talk about my parents in this situation. Both of my parents preferred to manage their health conditions, right? And my sister was in town, and so she helped them. But they didn't always tell us everything because they didn't want to worry us. And so it was not until my mother was diagnosed with bladder cancer that we knew she had bladder cancer. And it wasn't until we knew she had to have surgery that she told us, right? Same thing with my father. He had some health issues. We didn't find out about them until like they had to tell us, right? And it was their choice, okay? So be open to these discussions about what information do we want to share, what information do we not want to share, and be open to, people asking you. So here's the thing. If you're trying not to worry about the future, right, you may not want people calling you every day saying, oh my gosh, how is, your husband or your wife, or how are your parents? So, because that can take your mind back to the worry. So what you can do is say, hey, the best way that you can help me is to say, hey, is everything okay? How can I help you? And leave it at that. And let me say how you can help me. That's the best way that you can help me. And you may have other, types of help that you want, other ways to communicate that, but that's a good way to say it. Also know that family and friends may not cope well with this information that they think is bad, right? Nobody wants to hear that somebody has a terminal illness. It's not pleasant. Nobody wants to, face death. None of us want to face death, even though we will all face death. But so what can happen is family and friends who may not have good coping skills, like you as the caregiver are trying to gain and you as the patient are trying to gain, they may find themselves just avoiding it and just distancing themselves because of the emotional struggles that they're going through, right? So if friends and loved ones seem out of touch, if they don't call, if they don't visit, what are some things you can do? The dying person or the caregiver can write letters to the people that you love, to these people saying, look, I understand you may not be able to visit. We wish you would, but we honor that you can't. Now, because of technology these days and videos and things like this that I'm doing, the dying person can also record a video that can be sent to everyone after their death to serve as that last point of connection and a final memory. How relieved would you be, or how would you feel if you had no idea that a friend was ill or a family member was ill and they passed away and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have picked up the phone. I should have called. I should have done this and I didn't. But then you get a video of the person talking to you. How would that make you feel? So you have to think about these things. So for the caregiver and the dying person, every day can be tough until you transform your mindset into ways and skills that help you avoid this ongoing worry. These attempts to remain strong can be difficult. You may have better days, you may have teary days. It's impossible to know our degree of mental strength until we hit bumps in the road and we respond. Now, if you've had a life of challenges, maybe you have already lost a parent or lost a loved one or lost a sibling, you kind of know what that's like. Or maybe you've had just a job loss and you're like, oh my gosh, you had to go through that, or maybe a divorce or something else. So all of these difficulties that we face in life actually make us stronger, and they're opportunities to educate us to say, wow, I didn't think this was going to happen. How can I plan to manage through this easier in the future? You may find that you are stronger than you are imagined, or maybe that you need more support and you need to learn more skills. In all situations, ask for help and appreciate help. Accept the kindness, the consideration, and the love from other people, even though you may be having a bad day or your heart's breaking. Join a grief counseling group or seek an individual grief counselor. It's very important for you to have someone that you trust, that you can talk to about your feelings, whether you are the caregiver or the patient who is the dying person. From a mental perspective, let's be honest, dying is difficult to deal with, whether it's a friend or whether it's you. Some people put their faith in God and they sail through this so easily. They sail through it with such grace. Those people are amazing. Other people don't handle it so well. They can become more isolated and more depressed and really, really struggle. Another tip is finding a place of acceptance that whatever this is, it's happening. My loved one has a terminal illness and they're dying. How am I going to manage through it? How am I going to support my loved one to manage through it? So as we talked previously, focusing only on fears and worries about dying, not good. It's only going to result in a more stressed out daily existence that can actually create health concerns for the caregiver and more stress for the dying person. And that's really probably not what any of us want. So if you have to worry, just create a limitation on it. 15 or 20 minutes, write it all down. Then say, you know what, I'm setting this aside. I'm going to compartmentalize this. I'm going to put this over here in a box. And the rest of my day is going to be focused on making the best day that I possibly can. I'm going to go to work and have a good day. I'm going to accomplish stuff. I'm going to check off things on my task list. I'm going to schedule things that I look forward to doing. And I'm going to feel good about everything. As caregivers and patients, it's also important to make time for enjoyable activities when you can. having a meal together, sitting outside, playing happy music, doing a crossword puzzle together, playing cards. Make the home environment as peaceful and bright and as happy as possible. Take short drives. If you can, take a weekend trip and go somewhere you always wanted to go while you still can. Refocus that attention, refocus that negative energy into something positive by being determined and persistent to create daily self-focused routines. Remember the morning routine and the evening routine. Sometimes put that in the middle of the day, whether you are the caregiver or the patient. If this is your wish, invite other people, family and friends, to be involved. Invite them to visit as much as they can. Do your best not to take this journey alone. Make time, if you are the caregiver, away from the caregiving situation, away from the house, even if it's only to go to the grocery store or go for a walk. You can use a calendar like Microsoft Outlook or some other calendaring system to schedule visitors, to ask people to bring meals, to give you a break if you are that caregiver. And if you are the patient, do something good for yourself. Make contact with one person every day outside of your caregiver. Somebody that can uplift your spirits and make you feel good about life. It's so, so important. As a caregiver, you've got to plan for the future without your loved one. So identify interests and hobbies now. Begin routines. Start meeting people that will carry you through after your loved one has passed away. Now, when you meet new people, you don't have to tell them what you're going through. You can again compartmentalize that, saying, you know what, this is a friend for the future. I'm not going to bring in this end of life situation into this new relationship because I want it to be a new relationship. At some point I may tell them, but today I'm not going to. So you want to begin routines and meet people that are going to carry you through after your loved one has passed away. As the patient, you may be facing a lot of worry. So you want to, again, seek that information, create plans and daily routines for yourself to minimize fears so that you can make the best of the time that you have left. Let's say that you still live alone. Maybe you need to get one of those I've fallen and I can't get up devices, where if something happens to you, you push a button and 911 is called, or it calls your family. Think of things that can help you manage through a crisis situation more easily. Because the time to prepare for this storm is long before the storm shows up or the storm gets worse. So instead of being the person who says, after the fact, right, wow, if I had to do that differently, here's what I would have done. Do the different things now while you can. Shift out of normal routines and ruts to do the special and do the unexpected. Be a gift to yourself. Be a gift to other people. So let's now talk about practicalities. From a practical standpoint, if you have not made medical, financial, legal plans, there's no time like the present, right? These include medical and financial power of attorney, a living will, or a trust. There's a lot of information, a lot of details, many articles, and online courses on my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There's an online course called Power of Attorney, absolutely free, online course called Guardianship, and if you just put the words Power of Attorney into the little search oval on my website, many articles will come up. So you can find all of that information there if you don't know about it. Now let's talk about family squabbles. So if you're concerned about family squabbles, about what you do or what you don't want, there's no time like the present to lay it out. I do not want a burial service. I do not want a funeral. Or I want to be buried and I want a service. I want to be cremated and I don't want a service. Make it clear now so that there cannot be any squabbles later. Same thing with your will and the same things with what you want people to have and not have. I can tell you that throughout my history as a care manager and a professional fiduciary, I have been involved with so many families who contested wills after a loved one died. Because the children were saying, oh, that money shouldn't go to charity. It should come to us. So If you're the person and you have assets to distribute, put it in writing. Make sure it's very clear about what goes to who and what doesn't go to who. Because these types of situations divide families after you are gone. Take steps to make sure that your wishes are honored, and there's no family disagreement about any of this stuff. This takes written documents, witnessed documents, notarized documents, and even going to the extent sometime of recording a video to say, look, I am 100% competent. What I'm telling you in this video is written in my will or my trust, and this is what I want. There should be no debate whatsoever after I'm gone. Okay? Money to pay for care if someone's dying can be a huge, huge worry. So, what can you do about this? Here's one thought. Is there an existing life insurance policy anywhere? Is there a policy through an employer? Do you have a policy sitting in a drawer somewhere that you've forgotten about? If so, there is something called a life settlement, which is a cash payout, a cash settlement for the entire value of the policy or part of the policy. Those funds can be used for extra care experiences. They can be used for prepaying burial or cremation plans. They can pay off a home mortgage if you want your surviving spouse to be less stressed about how they're going to live with the money available. They can be put in a savings or an investment account. They can also be done to allow you to take the trip of your dreams before you can't. So if you want to know more about life insurance, life settlements, you can contact me through my website, PamelaDWilson.com. If you go to the Contact tab across the top of the website, there's a form that you can fill out and you can ask me and I can provide you more information. Other ways for money. You know, there are veterans benefits for veterans who were in wartime service. You may be able to do a home equity loan. There are reverse mortgages. There's many types of methods to get money if you need to have that money for care. Now, obviously, you may not have any of these options. You may be a person who has to apply for Medicaid and receive assistance through the Medicaid program. The biggest way to receive assistance is hospice care, right? So hospice care is care for people usually in the last 6 months of their life, and it's my belief that people wait too long to do this. So we're going to talk more about this in a second. I want to kind of keep going on the practical steps. So again, life insurance policy, you want to know about life settlements, contact me through my website. Let's talk about the house, right? Most of us who have lived in our homes, honestly, we have collected more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. It's in the garage, it's in bedrooms, it's all over the place and we don't use it. So to be practical, the present today is now also the time to sort through these belongings with your loved ones. Look at things that you may want to give to family members or friends rather than waiting until after the death. Set aside items that hold special memories that you want to keep. And know that some things that you may think are so valuable and you may want to give them away. Other people may not equally value them or appreciate them. If that happens, donate items to charity. There are plenty of people who want the things that you cannot use. Clean the house out of all these years of clothes and other belongings that are no longer necessary, making this task less daunting for your loved one who's going to remain after you pass away. Because a house filled with all this stuff, it can become more of a burden and more of a worry and more of a project than it needs to be. Now, let's talk about hospice care. If you've not engaged hospice care and you have no idea what it is, investigate the benefit by contacting local hospice agencies, meet with them, and have them explain to you the support that they provide. Because I can tell you most families wait too long to use hospice care. Now, there's pros and cons. There are fears that hospice care is going to end a life sooner because when you're on hospice care, there's no more health prevention, right? There's no more chemotherapy or treatments or dialysis or things like that, right? You stop life-ending treatment because there's a realization that it doesn't have any benefit anymore. And it may actually be causing you, if you're the patient or your loved one, more pain and distress and more worry. So you decide to just stop all that. And the idea is comfort. So there can be internal family thoughts about, is this good or is this bad? Especially if you want your loved one to live as long as they can, and your loved one saying, I don't want my life prolonged. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to be in pain. So investigate what hospice is. After you investigate it, then if your doctor has not brought this up, go to your doctor and say, look, is it time? Can we get a referral to hospice services so that we can have this support? Hospice care, honestly, it can be a major, major blessing and a major support, especially if you don't have children or family nearby who can help. Hospice care through Medicare provides medical equipment. They could bring a hospital bed into the house. They could bring chairs for the bathroom for bathing, right, if somebody can't stand up. Their staff can provide support with bathing, and they manage medications and other tasks. You can call them 24 hours a day if you have a concern about your loved one and you don't know what to do and you're freaking out. They also have spiritual counselors who can support both the caregiver and the patient differently, right? Let's just be honest. Dealing with end-of-life issues is challenging for everybody at different levels. We all go through the process differently. We all think about it differently based on our life experiences. So in addition to all these practical steps that we just discussed, and the ones we discussed earlier, managing your emotional health is probably the most important, because if you don't manage your emotions, you can't get the practical steps done. You cannot improve your day-to-day life. So whether you are the caregiver or the care receiver, the patient, picture how you want to live out the time that you have left. The days, the weeks, the months, and who you want to spend time with to make this happen. And then create a plan to do that, right? Grieving for the future is challenging. There's no doubt about it, regardless of what situation you're in. Get the support you need to live in light, in hope, in comfort, and in peace. Nobody knows what the future or tomorrow will bring. And just know that unexpected blessings can arrive anytime through a phone call from a person who brightens your day, from an offer of help. Let me come and sit with your loved one so you can take a break. Let me take you out to lunch. Let's go do this. There are positive things in life every day if we can look for them and see them and ask for them and be intentional. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. Please again, click below, like this video, follow my channel, comment, say thank you, just so other people can find these videos, and go over to my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There is a wealth of absolutely free information there. You can also schedule a paid consultation with me if you need one-on-one consulting by clicking on the Contact Me page on that site. Thank you again for being here. Have a fabulous, fabulous, wonderful day. I will see you all again soon in another video.